renamed to ensure we capture all concerns around inclusion, not only in the workplace, but in our society as a whole. This is in line with the global focus to promote representation and participation of different groups of individuals across gender, race, ethnic group, disabilities, and also social strata. As you may already know, the theme of this event is applying emotional and adaptability quotient in the workplace. As a society that is constantly seeking new and better ways to support the professional growth of our members and audience at large, this webinar is to share our best practices on how to navigate the workplace dynamics and also dealing with various personalities, age groups, as we've seen in recent times with the millennials working disease, and yet you have the experienced people. And best we can apply emotional intelligence when dealing with all our stakeholders in our environments. Emotional intelligence has become a very key soft skills that is required in our diverse workplace now, especially for senior executives when we sit in our positions or even as new entrants into the work environment. And as we sit back today, I'm really excited about the choice of speaker that we have today. I call the famous celebrity shrink, Dr. May. Dr. Muna Kadri is the founder of Pinnacle Medical Services, and she's also an award-winning mental health physician, advocate, and coach. The multiple award winner and probably the most popular, I always say, the most popular psychiatrist in the country, and definitely the trendiest of them all. Someone known for over 30 years, because Maimunat and I went to the same secondary school, Federal Government Girls Diploma in Port Harcourt, and she's someone I've watched closely for years with the consistency of her character. She remains to her cause, and despite all her successes and accolades, has remained very humble. Her energy is explosive, I must tell you, and I'm really hoping you'll bring that on board for us today. Maimuna, I want to thank you personally for honoring my invitation for you to speak on the CFA platform. I hope that, and for keeping your word. I know your schedule is very busy, but thank you for making it possible despite your busy schedule. And I also want to appreciate my colleagues in the DI committee, led by Rita Emofe, for their hard work and in putting this very unique event together to talk about a pertinent issue that we all know it's important for the progress of our careers, and obviously for selecting such an excellent speaker to be on our platform. I'm very confident that this will be a very impactful event today, and I want to encourage every one of you to listen and participate actively. I will now hand over to our moderator of the session, Sheyi Ajayi, who is the People Operations Manager with Paga Nigeria Limited. Sheyi is a seasoned HR personnel with an academic and early career background in law. Her experience over the past decades cuts across more HR function and strategic direction of how to be engaged in the place. I want to thank all of you once again for dialing into this webinar. I would say sit down and enjoy the session. But just before we start, I'd want us to once again play our video for you to know who we are as a society and what our mission is. Thank you.
We are professionals. We are impact-driven. We are CFA Society Nigeria, a member society of the CFA Institute Global Network of Societies. Our mission is to promote the highest standard of practice in the Nigerian financial services industry and provide a vibrant community for our members. The CFA Charter signals the holder's commitment to professional excellence. As thought leaders, we collaborate with stakeholders to ensure adherence to ethical standards, better education for professionals, and to build market integrity. We are the leading voice for advocacy in the finance and investment industry in Nigeria. To partner with us or become our member, visit us at cfasocietyng.org for more details. CFA Society Nigeria, making finance a force for good.
Sheyi, you may now start. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that introduction, Ibukun. And once again, thank you, Dr. May, for joining us. I think we can kick off with Dr. May's very impressive profile. So Dr. Maimuna Yusuf Kadri, aka Dr. May, popularly known, as Ibukun said, as the celebrity shrink, is a multiple award-winning health physician, advocate, and coach. She's the medical director and psychiatrist in chief at Pinnacle Medical Services, Nigeria's foremost psychology and mental health clinic, prominent in the application of innovative clinical approaches in the management and treatment of a wide range of psychological, emotional, and behavioral related disorders. Dr. Kadri is a dynamic consultant, neuropsychiatrist, and a fellow of the National Postgraduate Medical College of Nigeria. With almost 20 years experience as a practicing physician, she's a trained and certified rational, emotive, and cognitive behavioral therapist from Albert Ellis Institute in New York, USA. She's also a certified trauma counselor and neurofeedback practitioner. Dr. Kadri has wide experience in psychotherapeutic techniques and has perfected her skills whilst in private practice and whilst working for a variety of organizations. She's a recognized radio and television guest psychiatrist and psychotherapist. She also contributes to articles published in magazines and newspapers. She's the only Nigerian with the 14 Ps. That's how to keep up with. She's a physician, she's a psychiatrist, she's a psychologist, psychotherapist, practitioner, public speaker, published author, producer of movies, proficient coach, parent, philanthropist, people-oriented, public health advocate, and passionate about God and life. She's the founder of Pinnacle Health Radio, Africa's #1 online radio and non-for-profit organization, Pinnacle Medical Speak Out Initiative, which is geared towards creating mental health literacy in Nigeria and beyond. She's the executive producer of award-winning movies, Pepper Soup, which is focused on drug use, and Little Drops of Happy, which is focused on depression, postpartum depression, and suicide. She's also the creator of the most innovative mental health app in Nigeria, How Body. As a forerunner in the practice of mental health and other novel therapy techniques in Nigeria, she continues to be the most sought-after psychiatrist and psychotherapist in Nigeria and beyond. She's a Goldman Sachs Scholar, Vital Voices Fellow, Tony Elumelu Foundation alumni, and Ashoka Changemaker, a global thought leader, and has she's been recognized locally and globally for her movement in the field of health and wellness, especially mental health. An alumni of the US State Department's Internal Visitor Leadership Program 2017 and Aspen Fellow of 2021. She's a global affiliate of Workplace Options in the US and the UK and provides critical incident stress management and other forms of employee assistance programs to corporate organizations worldwide. She has attended several local and international continuous professional development courses and training programs. In recognition of her outstanding leadership and performance in the field of mental health, she was elected for a course in the development of leadership and professional skills for young psychiatrists in 2011, a World Health Organization affiliated program. Dr. Kadri's knowledge in the field of psychiatry and psychology also provides her a sound foundation for her teaching practice. She has facilitated the development of school-based mental health programs in some nursery, primary, secondary schools around the Lagos State metropolis as part of her community mental health advocacy activities. She's also involved in counseling skills training in adolescent sexuality and reproductive health in secondary schools. She has developed a strong practice in the area of employee assistance and counseling. She's also experienced in consultations on employee performance problems, workplace interpersonal conflict management challenges, team building, and other behavioral issues that have negative impact on productivity. She's a member of several professional organizations, including Nigerian Medical Association, Society of Occupational and Environmental Health Physicians of Nigeria, American Psychiatric Association, Employee Assistance Professionals Association, International Society for Neurofeedback and Research, Medical Women's Association of Nigeria. Her driving force is to live, to learn, and to impact generations positively. When not working as a physician, she loves to tour the world, work on disruptive innovations, and talk fashion. Dr. May is a trailblazer and innovator, and she's married with 3 lovely children. So Dr. May, once again, thank you very much for joining us on this session. Your portfolio is highly impressive to say the least. So maybe we can kick off and dive right into the session. And by you telling us what it means to be emotionally intelligent, and we can take it forward from there. As Ibukun said, we would like for this session to be highly interactive. So please feel free to drop your questions in the chat, and I'll make sure it's brought to Dr. May's attention. So Dr. May, welcome, and over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you to the President of CFA Society of Nigeria. Thank you to the amazing team I've been interacting with before now, of course, Shei, Ajayi, Gloria, and all the other lovely humans behind CFA Society of Nigeria. I'm glad I finally made it today. This has been a long discussion in the works, but thank God, despite the times or difference, I'm happy I'm here. And this is how it is. When you come online, it's important you show up, no matter what the time is. Show up big and show up good. And I'm glad I'm here. And this topic is very dear to my heart. Like what the president said, we have organization now where we practically have like 4 or 5 generations, from the Alpha, Gen Z, millennials to the boomers and X and Y generation. And you want to even understand how can people feel connected, supported, empowered, inspired, and supported within the workforce and not feeling left out. The older ones not feeling that younger ones are too forward and entitled, and the younger ones are not feeling that they are being bullied and harassed in the workplace. And that boils down to a very significant part of, ensuring that you have a mentally healthy work environment and an emotionally intelligent work environment. So emotional intelligence is very key in the workplace, in the sense that whether you are in the entry level, you are in the middle level career, or you are the executive suite, it's important that we become emotionally intelligent, because it is a trainable skill. It is a skill that you can acquire even if it's not inherent in you, that you are self-aware, which has the 5 components of being self-aware, being self-regulated or be able to manage yourself, having the intrinsic or internal motivation, empathy, and of course, social skills, which is about managing other people. Not all of us are aware of who we are. If I will throw this to this forum now and say, who are you? I'm sure some people are going to think about, what does she mean? Who am I? I know who I am, but prove it and tell me, who really are you? And then you hear numerous statements, and people will begin to start asking themselves, truly, who I am. So before we even go further, it's good for you to know who really you are. Because if you don't know who you are as a person, it's very difficult for you to know how to manage other people. But when you know who you are, truly, consciously, intentionally, knowing your stressors and your triggers, knowing your strengths and your weaknesses, because I'm sure most organizations that are here right now, people working in different organizations at the beginning of the year, or depending on the type of organization that you are in, you will have done what we call business planning, business strategy, growth, how we want to diversify, how we want to be able to meet target and meet the chaos within the pandemic, and know what is our SWOT analysis, our strengths, our weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. But we as individuals, we don't also know that for ourselves. What is your SWOT as a human being? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And if you don't know that, we see some of us, we start optimizing our weakness and minimizing our strength. And that is a big, big issue. Because once you start optimizing your weakness, you are going to need 10 times the effort to do that as against optimizing your strength. Is when you know your strength, you can optimize. And of course, your weakness, you can easily minimize, optimize, work on it, modify. Sometimes it's just okay not to be okay. You must not know everything. You can outsource, you can delegate once you understand what your SWOT is. And of course, also auditing yourself to know where you are going to, and of course, where you are coming from. So emotional intelligence is very important, but we do not just talk strictly on emotional intelligence. When it comes to the work environment, it must be tied to your cultural intelligence and, of course, your IQ. The reason why most of us are taking in our work environment, the CV comes in looking very beautiful. So your intelligence level is good, right? They know that, yes, this person has a 2-1. We only take first class. We don't want to take anybody less than first class. And so that comes in handy. Your IQ is showing you that. But what the work environment we really need to sustain you, or for you to be able to stay in that environment and for them to flourish and be profitable and ensure that there's a productive workforce, is your emotional intelligence. Because 85% of your success in life is based on your EQ, not necessarily your IQ. You can be a first class, but you completely lack EQ, which is your emotional intelligence. And if you do not have that, it's difficult for you to be a team player. It's difficult for you to be productive in the work environment. It's difficult for you to even connect, relate, and even mentor and coach other people. So cultural intelligence, which is the ability for you to relate and communicate with other people effectively by understanding their culture, is also important, linked to your emotional intelligence, which is the ability for you to identify and manage your emotions and be able to manage other people's emotions. And the link between this EQ and CI, which is the cultural intelligence, is that it brings about self-awareness. It brings about motivation. It brings about empathy. It brings about understanding people and communicating effectively with people. So the heart of emotional intelligence and cultural intelligence lies in communication. And that is the ability for you to even understand yourself, understand your culture, and you'll be able to relate with other people. And that's why a Yoruba person in the workplace will not be calling an Igbo co-worker Omo Igbo. So some people, that is insult. You don't just throw some certain words around. That person has a name. His name is Emeka. Her name is Ngozi. Why do you want to say Omo Igbo? It's a bit derogatory and labeling. So in the work environment, the heart of emotional intelligence and cultural intelligence is communication. And for you to be able to sustain that, you have to change and modify your behavior. Because the things we have been taught, which are most times our limiting beliefs, where we grow up, we bring them into the work environment. If we don't change and modify our behavior to unlearn those limiting beliefs and relearn how to relate with other people, it becomes a problem. Teamwork will be reduced, productivity will be affected, and the overall profitability in the organization will definitely be affected. I think, Shay, let me hold on there, and then we can continue with other discussion along the way.
Thank you very much, Dr. May. You've actually touched on a few points that we had highlighted. So, for example, we wanted to know what the difference was between emotional intelligence and IQ. So maybe you can shed a bit more light on that, because I know a lot of organizations would say, I would only hire a first-class graduate. I would only hire this sort of person. In my experience, I've seen a lot of people who have graduated with first-class degrees and have been unable to land full-time positions in organizations. So maybe you could shed a bit more light around that area of IQ versus EQ.
Very important question, I must say. And I would say anybody that is in the management position in any organization, please, this is 2022. We have to start changing the way we hire people. A third-class graduate may be third class because of situation, condition. There are certain things that are never within the person's control. The way you were scored in school may never be the real level of your outcome, your intelligence. So you came out with third class in a school. I'm not going to mention schools because I know we have different schools. So you came out with third class in a school that is one of the top 5 universities in Nigeria. And then a first class graduate will come out in a school that is among the newest private universities. And they meet in the same work environment. We've seen this happen over and over again. And maybe because of the way the third class how he was lectured or the kind of lecturers he has, feels that it wasn't putting much effort, so it didn't need that much course. Why the newer universities are like, look, everybody has passed on the proving otherwise here. We just have to make everybody just feel more comfortable. And the way they were taught is different, because the way we are taught also, matters a whole lot. So the IQ is a standardized test to measure your intelligence quotient. And that is why in our schools now, those of us that have children in schools, you find out that they're no longer doing first position, second position. They are doing 80%, 85%. So it's for you to now make that rule in your house. Look, you have to come out with a B, B plus, A, or A star. Because of that first position out of 40 people in the class, those are the things that our parents used to beat us on that. How can you be the 39th out of 40 people? That means you carry the whole class, the teacher and everybody. But now when they say 50%, some parents are finding it difficult to ask, okay, what does it mean, 50%? Okay, then you now look at the class average, 85%. That means your child didn't meet up with. That means if the class average is 85% and your child is having 50%, your child needs to work more on certain areas. So intelligence quotient is good. The IQ is good, right? But it's not enough to be successful. And in the work environment, the EQ is most important. You can have an IQ person with first class and is such, I don't want to use different personality, we have different personality traits, by the way, but personality disorders, I don't want to use personality disorders, but somebody with good IQ, very intelligent, if you give him work, he can do it, but it's a narcissist. Or he has antisocial personality. Let's not even go to something so bad as narcissism. Antisocial personality, doesn't want to interact, he's on his own, he doesn't want to communicate, he comes into the workplace, even to say hello is difficult, but you give him job, he delivers. In fact, he delivers even faster than other people. Let's understand this, EQ skills can be trained. So even if the person is good in known as a high IQ, it's for that work environment, that employer to make sure he or she acquires the right EQ skills, and you see the person blossom, and you see the person flourish better. You see the connectivity in the environment, become better, and profitability will be higher. Why? Because this person already has it in him or her, but lacks the EQ to succeed, lacks the EQ to move from one project to another, lacks the EQ to ensure that every other person in the team is comfortable, connected, empowered, inspired to achieve a bigger goal. It's about him, or her, because he doesn't know how to interact more. So in as much as IQ is important, you want to take a first class, please, employers of labor, ensure the EQ of your employees is very important. So I always tell people the head, the heart, and the leg. So when you are employing the head, right? IQ, this person is good, it's a first class, but please focus on the heart. That is what the person is bringing on board. The empathy, intrinsic and internal motivation, self-awareness, social skills, that's what the person is bringing on board. But of course, be conscious and also be involved in the person's fit, meaning where is the person, what is the person's growth? Where does the person see him or herself? That way, this employee will feel that, yes, I'm in the right place, I'm in an environment that I can track my growth. I know that I came with the right things, I'll be trained on X, Y, Z, and they're interested in my growth. So in as much as IQ is important, which is a standardized test, we do IQ tests in my organization. A lot of us have psychometric assessment to do IQ, right? But the EQ are trainable. So please ensure that you have people that have both. So I would rather take somebody with a high IQ, high EQ, and not a moderate IQ. That means we can blend it better as against a high IQ and a low EQ, and that becomes a big issue. Because to change an adult is a lot of work. The adult can only change if he or she wants to change.
Thank you very much, Dr. May. So the last point you made was very apt, that adults it's very difficult to change adults. And I also hear you say that EQ can be learned. So can you give us a bit more insight as to how we can train people? Because I'm sure a lot of us in our organizations have people who have extremely high IQs, but to your earlier points, they have antisocial behaviors. They don't want to interact with other people on the teams. So can you give us a few pointers as to how we can train our employees or even ourselves to have a better EQ rather, or higher EQ?
Oh, great. Emotional intelligence trainings are so diversified these days on a global level, whether you are, in Nigeria, you are in global south, whether Europe or America, they have the EQ organizations that can actually train on emotional intelligence. It could be a one-day kind of training. It could be you getting certified, to be able to train the trainer. So, and the bulk of emotional intelligence training is about ensuring that everybody understand what it is. The first rule is being self-aware, because you cannot even move to other aspects of the key indicators of emotional intelligence if you are not even aware. It's at the first phase. So when I'm doing training for emotional intelligence, it's at that first phase I begin to start seeing that some people even need therapy before they come into emotional intelligence training. Because emotional intelligence, when you train individuals on it, it takes you from functionality to super functionality. But some people are dysfunctional, so they will need like form of therapy to take them from that dysfunctional state to a functional state before you can move to super functional state. So emotional intelligence skills can be trained on the motivation, the empathy, and there are various ways that we can, like 6 seconds is one of the organizations I did my training on emotional intelligence. So training emotional intelligence is not something that you can just say, let's do paperwork. Now with COVID, initially it was in person. With COVID now, it's so easy to do online trainings, with videos, with worksheets, assignment. And the beauty about emotional intelligence is also answering a lot of unanswered questions, nature versus nurture, the kind of environment you want to be in, the kind of team. And so when everybody gets trained on that, you find that there's more awareness among team members, as against one person becoming the advocate and telling everybody this is how things are done and this is how you should do things. And it's good, but when everybody gets to understand the same scope on what to do, it makes a lot of difference. So EQ skills can be acquired, can be trained, and I would encourage any organization to please try as much as possible to even if it's not everybody, you cannot, if you have a 400 manpower organization, you don't want to train 400, but you can do an organization-wide kind of awareness, which is very good, and you can train key players like maybe supervisors, managers, the top management, because leaders, if they don't lead with emotional intelligence, it kills the downline. In fact, you see people doing quiet quitting. These days is so very common. People, the Jaguar syndrome is no longer news anywhere. People will just run away there. They prefer to go and take a job in Ibadan for 35,000 rather than stay in Lagos with a job of 200,000 where they won't have peace of mind. The definition of peace of mind is individualized because we don't know what that person really means by peace of mind. So that is why it's important. Leaders must lead with the better emotional intelligence. That way you can inspire, motivate, mentor, coach the younger ones. And as they grow older in the profession, knowing fully well they will also be trained, it becomes a vicious circle and a win-win situation for the organization.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dr. May. So this brings me to my next question. It's also something you touched on earlier about cultural intelligence. So could you maybe give us a bit more insight as to how that can affect EQ in the workplace, or how it can just affect workplace dynamics, number one, and number two, is it something that can also be learned? Can it be trained? Can we change our culture to affect the EQ of an organization?
So every organization has a good organizational culture, and that is so important in organization in the sense that if you bring in people and one person disrupt the culture of the organization, it can adversely affect every other person, especially when we talk about one bad apple in a basket. Before you know what is happening, that culture becomes ingrained. That culture becomes transferable. Let's not forget emotions are contagious. So, and this one person who is bringing in a disruptive, disrupting the organizational culture, maybe one loud voice, maybe one strong personality, and that person can easily, bring his personality to enroll into the organizational culture, uprooting what is already in existence, if the management are not aware, and then that becomes the norm. And so subsequent members of the team coming into the team, we think that that is the normal thing. And before you know what is happening, the organizational culture is disrupted. So cultural intelligence is the ability to relate and effectively communicate, in the sense that you understand the culture of other people. So if I'm Edo and I work in an environment where they are predominantly Igbos, I will not be talking about the Igbo culture in a way that is demeaning, derogatory, or even making them feel as if they are outcasts. And that's why diversity, equity, and inclusion is very key these days. DEI is not just a wish list. It's not just something you just stick in the box. It's also about us. We're not just saying racism, the Caucasians are, no, within us, how culturally are we aware of other people, instead of telling a Hausa person, Hausa Bororo, Almajiri, the way you make them feel as if they are less of Nigerians, as against you thinking you are more of a Nigerian. No, Nigeria is more Nigerian than another Nigerian. Is very important, and our culture really play a very significant role, because when you are able to understand your culture and learn about other people's culture, it makes the work even easier. It makes the environment friendlier. You are, even if you don't like fufu and the ofesala of the Igbo culture, you are not going to say, this thing smells bad. Let's not forget, the average Caucasian doesn't know pounded yam, they call it fufu. So it's important for us to understand that other people's culture is in them. They learned it, they grew in it, they were nurtured in them. And it's very difficult to uproot it, but it's easy to modify. And that is why communication is important. Communication in the sense that when you understand your culture and learn about other people's culture, you can bridge that gap by changing your behavior to understand how you can relate to that person. Do you know you can break a wall by just knowing about somebody's culture and talking about to a Yoruba person and talking about an icon like Fela. Like, oh, what do you know about Fela? No, I know about Fela's shrine. I know about this. And they'll be wondering, okay, I know about the Eyo Festival. You're in Lagos, right? And that can just strike that conversation. But if you don't understand certain things and you are not relating with people based on cultural intelligence, it can also affect the modus operandi of any organization. Because people will feel excommunicated, people will feel estranged, people will feel out of place because they think that this environment is more Igbo oriented than Yoruba oriented. So I will not get better promotion. I will not be sent on, foreign trainings because the Yoruba people have formed a cabal, a cartel. So cultural intelligence, in as much as emotional intelligence is important, cultural intelligence is something that must be ingrained. And of course, organizational culture must be well spelled out. Every new intake, taking through the onboarding process, understand it, not somebody else telling his own version of the culture of the organization is limiting. And that can cause more damage on the long run than what the management would expect.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Dr. May. So maybe I should shift a little bit. You mentioned something at the beginning in your introduction. You talked about the different dynamics in the workplace and the different demographics we have in the workplace. We have the Gen Z, we have the baby boomers, we have quite a number of options, right? So how would you say having emotional intelligence as an employer or as an employee plays into dealing with the different age that we find in the workplace. We talked about the cultural side. Yes, there's the organizational culture, which is obviously set at the top and is set by the management of an organization. But in dealing with the day-to-day nuances of your teammates, so you mentioned earlier, you've gone to school with someone, they might have been your senior, maybe in SS3 when you were in JS1, and you're now in the same place. And for all intents and purposes, you find yourself as a Gen Z or a younger person, or an older person reporting to somebody younger than you by years in terms of experience, etc. How would you say you would manage that sort of situation?
That takes us to self-awareness. It's not how far, it's how well. You finish at the age of 20, don't get a job at the age of 30. You finish at the age of 30, and somebody else will finish at the age of 30 and get a job immediately. So if this person is a Gen Z and you are Gen X, so you're in your 40s and you're reporting to somebody in the 20s, don't let your personality erode your common sense. Because it's a work environment. There's a reason why that person is made your leader, your supervisor. Maybe because of years of experience, maybe because of qualification. There's a reason that was not within your control. But you are coming in, maybe as a new entrant, and then you have to report to this person, like, this 25-year-old, me, 45, I'll be reporting to this person. Nah, only work. What nonsense is this? And then you now try to bully. In that process, you may lose your job because there are rules, harassment, bullying, all those things are not taken in workplace. So your emotional intelligence must come into play. There's a whole lot you can learn from that Gen Z. I love reverse mentoring. Like literally, there are so many things I do. These people see me as a superwoman, and I'm like, if only you know my team. If you know the people that my team is made up, you will understand that sometimes I just sit down, relax, and sip my tea while they do the work, because they are energetic, creative, and everything that comes with it. Your years of experience will come into play in modifying some certain things that person will need. Why you may think that person is younger than you, the person may have what you need to grow in your position. So you don't come with that African mentality of I'm older than you, so I'm wiser than you. No. There's no correlation. If I study back-to-back, randomized control trial, blinded, whatever, pair group studies, nothing says that because the person is younger, is less intelligent than you, that you are older. It's not, common sense is not common. So it's good to apply emotional intelligence when it comes into that kind of environment. Relate to the person, be open-minded, try as much as possible to do what is needed. While the person is teaching you XYZ, you also have a whole lot. That is why we love our elders. That is why we are particular about our seniors. That's why we are also very happy when we see our older people around, because what they know, even if you climbed MTN Mass, that's the tallest kind of whatever building or whatever, you will not see it, you will not know it. So it's good for us in the work environment to work hand in hand in ensuring the work goes smoothly, irrespective of the age, the position. Just be humble. I tell people, humility takes nothing away from you. Rather, it makes you stronger, better, more amiable, and good things come to people that are humble and kind.
Spot on, Dr. May. You mentioned something about reverse mentoring, learning and unlearning limiting behaviors and habits. Personally, that's something that I didn't realize was having some level of emotional intelligence, right? But for every time I would say maybe I've changed my role, I've gone from one organization to the other. When you move to one organization, you learn how to behave or how to act in that organization. When you go to a new organization, you have to unlearn everything that you have, most especially if there's bad things that you picked up on and you have to learn the new organization. But one thing I think is coming across in everything that you said is, apart from humility, is to have that adaptability and to be agile. So can you, maybe this then takes us to the importance of agility in the workplace. And it's something that we started hearing a lot in the last few years. So agility, having an agile workforce, how does that play into emotional intelligence?
Agile working environment is what is a new concept now. Everybody wants to we want to make sure that we have that kind of environment. It's all about, having an environment that you've created flexible office hours, productive work environment, creating different work, working areas within the organization. And that's why some people will never come back to work fully. Now, with pandemic, even made that concept more noticeable and now more active. Remote working 2 days a week in, 3 days out, different resumption hours. Those kind of things have been done in many organizations before. Now people can say, okay, I choose to resume 8 o'clock and close 5. I choose to resume 9 and close 6. I choose to resume 7 and close 4. So having that kind of agile working environment is, talking about creating flexible office, productive work environment, ensuring that office hours are things that people can also, have the ability to say, this is what I want to do and this is how I want to do. There are some people that are not even good in the front. When you talk about, so let's use bank. Yeah, we're talking about CFA, right? So those front seller people, some of them have what we call social anxiety. But because they look good, especially the ladies, light skin, looking all good, and say, this one is a good face for the bank. Let her be in the teller. But this person, the moment she does this queue in front of her, there's that, she's freaking out. Because now they don't even know she has that social anxiety. But that kind of person will be better off in the IT room or behind the scene, and you see her, blossom. But, that concept of she'll be better here, assumption. So I tell people assumptions and perceptions are joy killers. Because when you assume and you don't know the true story, or when you perceive that this is what it is, when you don't know what really it is, they are joy killers. Because at the end of the day, you don't see productivity, you don't see outcomes, you don't see people, being put where they are supposed to be, and the environment they see it as a bit hostile and toxic, working with other people. But when you talk about having an agile working environment, it's putting those concepts into place, creating a good working environment, flexibility in the workplace, even having areas where there's wellness, areas where there's prayer room. Now you go to the airport, you see these joint prayer rooms, and you're wondering, okay, how come? So a Catholic is counting his rosary, a Muslim is doing his salat, a Pentecostal is doing. So those are the things that we are now also bringing into the work environment. It's not a walk in the park, but it's something that I strongly believe every organization should start adopting. But the first thing is even find out what really works. So it's not about the management sitting there and say, I think this is what is going to work in this environment. That's why there are surveys. Ask questions, and you'll be surprised what will come out. I decided to have a little small crèche in my organization because when my children were younger, when they close from school, they come over to the hospital where I have a small place where they do their homework, have their bath, eat their lunch. This work-life integration thing is it's a different story. And they were in primary school, so the school bus would drop them and all that. One day, one of my sons asked me that, Mom, what about mothers when they come into this place to see you and they have children? How would they be concentrating if it's the mother that wants to see? What about their children? Don't you put a slide, put a bouncing castle? And that was how a little play area came on board. Now children come, they go and do their own thing. Mothers are being seen, no distraction. So it's important that if you want to make your environment that agile and make sure it is working, ask the right questions. Let everybody get involved. Don't sit there as management and say, this is what it is. It may not work for you because it's also creating that work environment, the agile work environment.
Thank you, Dr. May. So I'll just go over to the chat. There's some questions for you there. The first one says, how would you manage a boss that has a low EQ?
A boss that has a low, I said earlier on about personality, right? With the fact that people come with their different personality, and this is your boss, and there's insubordination in the workplace. You can be fired if you shout on your boss. Your boss has low EQ. He doesn't even understand. It comes with that mindset that it's what I do, what I say, not what I do. Even if he's doing something wrong, he believes that it's what he says you should do. It doesn't walk the talk. And you are more emotionally intelligent than this, your boss. It's important that we also understand the protocols in our organizations. Because you may want to talk to that boss and it will not work. So the first instinct that comes to you is trying to see, okay, can I relate to this boss in a way that you understand that this thing he or she is doing is not working, as against this is what can work. And this is where you also apply your emotional intelligence with your social skills. How can you relate to that your boss that he will understand? Rather than telling him or her what to do, you are putting the benefits and the outcome of that project on board. And if it's a kind of a boss that doesn't want to take that, like, okay, this person is making sense. He may even tell you that this thing you are saying is rubbish, right? But on the flip side, you've put what you have to put down to that boss. And this is where I come with the dear man. It's an acronym for how you can also put certain things in the workplace. The D in dear man is describe with fact what you want. So for example, you have a boss who has said you have to work 3 days of this week extra time. So you're telling the boss, I've worked 3 days in this week extra time. So you're describing with facts what the boss has told you to do. The E is express using the I statement. I feel overwhelmed working 3 days extra this week. So you express it. The A is be assertive. I want to go back to my 40 hours a week job. So you're not like telling him or her, this, I don't want to work, this is nonsense, this is this. So you have described the fact that you've worked 3 days. Now you have been, you use the I statement, I feel overwhelmed. And you are now assertive with the fact that I want to go back to my 40 hours. The R is reinforce. Your boss is going to say something like, what do you mean that you want to go back to your 40? Say, you thank your boss, you smile. So you reinforce. That is the DEAR, dear. The man, the M is mindful. You have to be mindful of what you want, your goals, and how you want it. I want to continue with my 40 days a week before we continue with other projects. So I want to clear these 3 days extra I've done, extra work. Let us discuss what it entails, what the organization is going to do for me before I go into other projects. And the A here is make sure you are doing that with appropriate, confidence, eye level, shoulders up, not arrogance, not fidgeting, but you are stating what it is. And the last, which is N, is to make sure that you notify your boss what it entails. So, dear man, you are stating the fact. You are using the I statement. I feel overwhelmed. You want to go back to your 40 hours of work before you can do any other project. You are assertive about it. You reinforce it. And it's important you put those things in proper perspective. Because if you try to say, I'm not doing again, and this and that, your boss can get you fired. So with low emotional intelligence, apart from the management trying to send them for training, like I said earlier on, people change only when they want to change. So it's not within your control to change your boss, but it's within your control to be able to be more self-aware and use your social skills in putting things in so that you can have a healthy work environment. Because you have a hostile boss or a boss that with low IQ, every morning you think of going to work, you start palpitating. So if you even go into panic attack, because they are scared of walking into that environment and having a boss who is always, on the edge, or always shouting, or using derogatory words and all those kind of, things. So you have to make it work for you, because you have the power and the control to manage how you react to what he or she does.
Fantastic, Dr. May. So we have a lot of questions coming in the chat, so I'll just take them one by one. The next question is from Deborah. She asked, I agree to having a sense of humility. What do you do when humility is being taken for granted?
So it still takes us back to how you react to what people do. It's not within your control how people react to you. That's it. You are humble. If you think your humility is taken for granted, what are the parameters you use in measuring that your humility has been taken for granted? So you have to be aware of, that the boundaries. So this is where boundaries come into place. And I quickly tell people, like, boundaries is not just something that we should just throw around. It's a word that we should also understand what it is. So for me, boundaries is be aware of what is unacceptable and normalize saying no. Do what is best for you and know it is not your responsibility to sacrifice yourself above others. Boundaries. BOUNDARY. Be aware of what is unacceptable and normalize saying no. Do what is best for you and know it is not your responsibility to sacrifice yourself above others. Once you understand this, you create your boundaries. There's no way, people take your humility for granted once you create boundaries. You create family boundaries, you create colleagues boundaries, you create social boundaries, you create physical. So boundaries can be created, but one thing that's also important is that once you create boundaries, it's also good for you to communicate it. Don't create boundaries and put it in a cupboard and people don't know what it is. When you create boundaries, let the people that are involved be aware the boundaries you have created and how you want things to work. So with time, you find out that nobody will take you because they understand your boundaries, they know their limits. Your humility will not be taken from them. So please, if you ask that question, if you don't have boundaries in place, please create those boundaries and ensure you communicate them. Your humility can never be taken for granted once you have your boundaries in place. Because you know your limit. If they don't know your limit, you know your limit. And you can easily walk away from such toxic, relationship or toxic discussion. But boundaries are yes, and put them in place.
Thank you very much, Dr. May. Another question from Oluwatobi says, there are situations where the work environment is filled with unethical behaviors, from management level to the bottom. Working in this type of environment and with the fact that getting another is really difficult. What is the best practice for an individual in this situation?
Working in an environment where there's a missing link there, it says something about the people in the environment. I didn't get the question.
Okay, let me repeat it. So the situations where the work environment is filled with unethical behavior, from management level to the bottom, and working in this type of environment, and the fact that getting another job is really difficult, what would be the best practice for an individual in this sort of situation?
Where you are in an environment where there are a lot of unethical practices. So there are things that are within our control and there are things that are not within our control. You are not the management, you are a staff, so you are an employee. And things in that environment, you see them, they're unethical. They don't align with your values. They don't align with your passion. They don't align with who you are and what you are bringing on board. And of course, the second part of the question is that now getting job is difficult. Will you rather want to stay in an environment where there are unethical practices, or leave and be unemployed? It's now your decision to make now, and start asking yourself, what do you really want to do? How can you change the unethical practices in this environment? It's not a one-man job. It's not a two-man job. It's not a committee's job. It is a total overhaul of the organization. And how can you bring on board to say the unethical practices here are not healthy for me, it doesn't align with my values and my beliefs, and they'll tell you, get out, that is the door. What are you still waiting for? To hell with you. So you have to be in a position where you don't sound like a savior, or you don't sound like a preacher, or you don't sound like the righteous person, and be able to see how you can work with the management to know how you can bring on board, control what you can do, what is within your control. What are you doing in your own space to see that those unethical practices, you are not involved? You are also changing other people's perspective in your own little small corner on how to do things differently. It's a tall order. Is going to be difficult. The easiest way is to make sure management gets involved and eliminate or minimize those unethical practices, or you just get out. But the jobs are not out there, and not everybody can be an entrepreneur. It's healthier to be an entrepreneur than to be a depressed entrepreneur, right? So you want to stay, but how can you change those unethical standards and practices? It's a lot. Are there processes in the work environment you can take to say, okay, these unethical practices are not healthy in this environment? So I still come with that answer of put the benefits and outcomes. So I want to get a diabetic. Let me use a typical example of a patient that has diabetes, and this man is refusing to stick to healthy food. I'm going to work on his emotion. I'm not going to say, you must eat this, you must eat that, you have to lose weight, you have to do lifestyle modification. Sir, you have 2 children. Okay, yes, how old are they? My daughter is 20, my son is 10. Sir, wouldn't you want to walk your daughter down the aisle on her wedding day? I'm speaking to his emotions. And he's like, yes, I want to. I said, if you keep going the way you are going, with this way you are eating unhealthy meals, you are involved in, not taking your medication, not coming for your clinic, you may have a diabetic foot. Your leg may be amputated. You may even die. So you will not be able to walk your daughter down the aisle. So there's what we call motivational interview. It's a technique. I don't want to go into that, but the thing is that bring the benefits and the outcomes to the fore and say, this unethical practice, this is what it will lead to. EFCC can come, the organization can be shut down. You will have done your homework well. And you may be surprised that they start taking back steps, or they start doing certain things to make it work. Like I said, it's not only your job, it has to be a whole lot that you have to do. And are you willing to do that a whole lot in that organization? Because you are saying it's the whole from up down. How do you want to change that on ethical practices? So the benefits and outcomes, speaking into their emotion, sometimes those things can actually change those.
Thank you very much, Dr. May. There's some other questions that are quite similar. So the next couple of questions are around dealing with the boss with an aggressive behavior, and who, on the one hand, are encroaching on your personal life, trying to ask questions about what's going on in your life. And then on the flip side, they're micromanaging and wanting to, or coming across as you not being productive in the workplace. So how would you handle those 2 situations?
Micromanaging is, it kills motivation. And motivation is a big part of emotional intelligence. When we talk about motivation, we're talking about intrinsic and internal motivation. So when you have somebody breathing down your neck, I know when bosses try to micromanage, and I say, don't you know the word delegate? Don't you know the word, how to put processes in place, SOPs, and give room for people to improve? People will fail, but can they fail forward? And are you, as much as possible, have you trained this person to ensure that they don't do some certain things that will be detrimental to the welfare of the organization, maybe losing money, or somebody is losing his or her life? If those very daring or disastrous outcomes don't come in, how can you ensure that you put people, because some people, it's in their nature, it's in their personality to micromanage. They must see to it end to end. If not, their body, not the way Nigerians will say, their body they will not be calming down. They will come with that, no, this will not work. If I'm not there, what if you die? Have you asked yourself that question? So those are the things. So what if you die? That's what we go on. It's a 1 minute silence, and it's never really 1 minute, 30 seconds. Everybody move on. They will promote somebody to take over your position, and life goes on. So micromanaging is a recipe for disaster in any organization, because you are going to put so much energy in trying to do the little things. You are sweating the small stuff when there are bigger things out there. So put processes in place, get them trained. SOPs, even if somebody leaves this position and another person comes in, there are standards to follow. The onboarding process, certain things, and that's why I like a lot of the financial institutes in Nigeria. They have training institute, 3 months, 6 months. So when they are coming to SMEs like us, they are coming with so much knowledge. They want to just this person work in this bank, how come you know so much? Because they've gone through so much intensive training. So micromanaging, in as much as it sounds as if it is good because you want to minimize disastrous outcome, it's a joy killer, it's a time killer, it's a disaster recipe for any organization. You will not have room to be productive in bigger things you need to put in place. Rather, you are making sure that all the little things. So it is good. Have your standard of, have your SOPs. Make sure the onboarding process is good. Make sure there are protocols on who to meet if this happens. Before they reach me in my organization, there are so many other people that have been in place. The head of admin, the head of psychology unit, the head of nursing unit, before they come to me for me to work. So we have a place assistance program in service that we deliver to corporate organizations. We have currently 21 organizations working with over 1 million Nigerian employees and their family members. And I think that's so very important for corporate organizations in CFA Society of Nigeria to also have in place. Employee assistance program, it does not just manage the emotions of the employees of the organization. They also manage issues like this, whereby when an employee calls in and says, my boss is doing this, is doing that, is doing this, is micromanaging, this environment is demotivating. There are ways they can be trained on certain skills, assertive skills, things that can help him function better in that work environment, even if the boss is a micromanager. And of course, we come in from time to time periodically to train the middle managers, the top management staff, to also understand how they can work with their subordinate in a friendlier and healthier environment. So these are things, for me, I strongly believe people can put in place. Services apart from welfareism, employee assistance program is also a very important service for every organization to have. It's a good to have. A good to have, because a lot of things can change when everybody understands a common goal. We want to have a healthier work environment, a mentally healthy work environment. Peak performance is boosted, productivity is boosted. We are able to talk on have hard conversations and difficult conversations that ordinarily we wouldn't be having. This is what employee assistance does for any corporate organization. So for me, I think that is something that I would propose to the person asking this question and to other organizations that are here. Is a good to have. It helps relieve the HR people. A whole lot of burden is shifted away from you, because that is a service that anybody can log in at any point in time of the day, whether you are in the country, you're outside the country, you can access, and they can actually help you deal with those challenges.
Thank you very much, Dr. May. That is a very important topic. And over the last couple of years, I guess maybe even with the onset of COVID, it has become more top of mind. It's become more topical that mental health is wealth, and mental health is very important. So how would you say emotional intelligence ties into the mental health crisis, if there is one that we're facing, or that a lot of people are facing as employers or even as employees in recent times?
Very important question once again. So there's a difference between mental wellness, mental health, and mental illness. But oftentimes, when we hear the word mental, Yaba left. Yaba was, we just assume, that the person has gone wacky, terrible things. The truth is that with the advent of COVID-19, it's even worse now. Mental health issues have been so prominent over the years to the extent that when COVID hit, it then exposed the deficit. It then exposed, the resources that are so deficient. For Nigerians, as it is right now, the Japa syndrome is making it worse. We have one psychiatrist to 1 million Nigerians. We have one psychologist to 400,000 Nigerians. We don't have enough. So the only thing we can do is to do what we call tax shifting and tax sharing, meaning get the human resources managers in corporate organizations, train them on mental health first aid, train managers and supervisors on mental health first aid or psychological first aid. That way there's tax shifting, tax sharing. They're able to pick early signs, warning signs, and they are able to refer. And people within the organization also are aware of what is happening, and they are also, they can reach out through the employee assistance program and say, this is what it is. So emotional intelligence has a whole lot linked to mental health, because mental health will tell you that you have to have the ability to realize your potentials in life, the ability to work productively and fruitfully, the ability to deal with the day-to-day stressors of life, and the ability to give back to the society. That's the WHO definition of mental health. But mental wellness is the ability to have positive mental health. And mental illness is a medical disorder or medical condition where you have poor mental health. So somebody with poor or low emotional intelligence, it could be as a result of maybe the person already has a mental health issue. If the person is depressed, empathy is something that doesn't just come easily. The person has even lost the zeal, has lost that joy. It doesn't have joy. There's low mood. There's lots of interest in things ordinarily the person enjoys doing. There's low energy level. And you are expecting that person to have, function well with a high IQ. The depression is already eating roots deep into this person's personality. And so the emotional intelligence will not blossom. Likewise, somebody with poor emotional intelligence may be dealing with some mental health related issues. So it can be vice versa. So mental health and emotional intelligence are highly related to one another. But the beauty about this is that mental health challenges or mental illnesses are treatable, they are beatable, and they are manageable. The idea of stigma, discrimination, prejudice attached to mental health, people living with mental illnesses, and their families is where our problem lies. If we start having these conversations, so I tell people my mantra is normalizing mental health conversations by building a culture of compassion. If organizations ensure that the culture of compassion is ingrained within the work environment, it enables people to speak up and speak out. It encourages help-seeking behaviors. It allows people to seek help from the right people, the right places, and there's no better time than that time. Because when and if you need help, go get help. So it's important that we understand that mental health challenges can affect the workforce of any work environment. And it is so intrinsic that a lot of times we don't say it. We don't know it. We are not even aware of how it is that is affecting this very nice boss who is humble, but the person is dealing with depression. And before you know what is happening, you wake up and the person has taken his or her life. In the last 1 month, if you are in Nigeria, you must have heard of what has happened in the last 1 month. Suicide is highest among males, but in Nigeria in recent times, we are seeing women in relationship ending their own life. So you are seeing a different perspective. And for every 40 seconds, somebody somewhere is killing him or herself. So we must ensure that our work environment, we create a mentally healthy work environment. Aside from the IQs and the EQs, a mentally healthy work environment is an ingredient for a flourishing environment. It's an ingredient for productivity and, of course, profitability. Once everybody feels connected, supported, empowered, inspired, and they know there's an outlet where they can seek for help, go for help that is highly confidential, where they wouldn't be judged, where they wouldn't be criticized, and most importantly, as Nigerians, we wouldn't be apostolic towards them. They will be able to work and thrive. So a mentally healthy work environment is very important. In whatever we do, the ability to express your emotions, EQ, and adapt to a work environment. Having a mentally healthy workforce, mentally healthy work environment is a foundation to build on other things that you want.
Thank you very much. On that note, it's something you alluded to at the beginning of your conversation, where you mentioned the importance of having psychometric testing done for new entrants into an organization. And you also mentioned some key markers that you needed to look out for in terms of emotional intelligence. So can you just tell me very quickly what those markers are that you would look out for a candidate in a new position, whether it's outside of the psychometric testing? Is there something that you'd be looking out for when you're having interviews with them or conversations with candidates?
Yeah, there's so many psychometric testing that organizations put in place, strength finders, personality assessment, IQ is very easy to do, because some people want to say, okay, this CV, does it really, if we do your IQ, does it really show that it is you that owns it, right? So some people still go ahead and do that. But a lot of times in the hiring stage, they do personality profiling. What that really does is that it puts people in the right position. So by the time you do your personality profiling, so those with social anxiety, you know, this person would not be a good front person. Okay, but this person has strength in this, so this person will be better in this. So it gives a good background on where to position people as against what you think the CV shows and the English and interaction you have with the person. Now you are validating it with some assessment. On the flip side, some people will say, even the assessment is not like 100%, and it's true. It's not like 100%. It's now for you as the management to say, okay, now we've done this psychometric profiling, we've checked, personality, we've checked, level of functioning, we've checked the strength of this individual, the different ways this person can function. And this person will be fit in the procurement department. So this is where this person would be. The person goes there, over time you notice that this person is doing what he's supposed to do, but he'll be better in maybe operations. It is another way to say, okay, no, this person can be moved to this. And it's good to even try as much as possible to move people to different departments, because it also gives, number one, that perspective of, oh, this person can work in diverse areas, and then this person is best in this, because we have good starters and we have good finishers. There are a few people that can start and finish, but most of us have strength either as a starter or as a finisher. So when you find such people, you know where they are. When you have staff that are well put in a position where they fit, so round pegs in round holes, they are more productive. They are happier doing their job. You see better outcomes as against square pegs in round holes. The person will feel demotivated, demoralized, feel as if every small job is a big issue, because they don't even know how to start, how to end, and how to even make conversation to make the job easier for them. So those psychometric assessments are good, but are they a must-have? I don't subscribe to that, because it's not everybody that can even afford such, assessments and all that. But there are assessments that, if you think, okay, this person needs to move from this level to that level as a top management staff, do we need to understand some certain things that this person is not actually telling us? So those assessments actually tells you certain things that this person is not saying. They are not like a yes or no kind of thing. They are on a Likert scale, whereby if it's headache, do you have headache, Shay? Yes, no. But that assessment will say sometimes, most often, always. So that way you know, okay, there's headache, but it's sometimes, it's not always, and it's not a little bit. That is just what it does give you. And of course, the person's kind of personality to know whether it's the right fit. Personality is key too, because the person may be good, but the personality is wacky. And that personality can just destroy the whole work that has been done over the years. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. May. I'm just mindful that we have about 40 minutes left of the session, so I'm just going to run through some of the questions that we have left. I have one who says he's a man who works under women. What are some of the ways to manage them in order to be successful in the workplace?
A man who works under women. Embrace the fact that you are blessed among women. Women are, so sometimes, so you see women saying it's difficult to work with other women. And you see men saying, oh, I can't work with women. And I'm like, interesting. If only you look at this person as a human being, you won't be saying that. See this person as a human being. See how what you can give and what you can take is not what you can only take. Because it's when you come with some wrong mindset that you start having issues. Oh, they are women. They don't have sense. They are very emotional. They will make me feel less of who I am. Who really are you? When your emotional intelligence is top-notch, nobody is going to rewrite your story. In fact, when you come in and you are not dominating, you are coming with that humility. You'll be loved. Do you know how it is as a man working among women? You'll be men that work among women that they put themselves, I'm a man and these are women. I'm not like biased. I'm not going to make them less of who they are and all that. You say, I brought this for you today. Are you going to eat this? I bought this when I traveled. There are so many things that comes out so beautifully working with people and not coming with your biases and limiting beliefs. Is because of those biases, limiting beliefs, people have challenges. If you're a man working under women, embrace the fact that you are blessed. Embrace the fact that you are working with human beings, not seeing them as women. Because when you come with that mindset that they are women, they are going to be emotional, they are going to talk down me, they are going to do this, that is where the problem comes in. Do your job, relate with them well, be respectful, be humble, do what you have to do. Don't harass them, don't talk down them, don't come and be bossy over them, especially maybe you're even a subordinate, you're a younger person. I think because it's a woman. Some women may look unassuming, but the power they carry, the grace that they go with, you cannot, you cannot undermine them. And so a lot of times, people make things work. Anything that has ever happened to anybody in this world is one person that made it happen. The world will conspire at the end of the day, but it's one person that opened the door for you to come in. It's one person that brought the chair and put and said, sit down on this table. It's one person that, that made it work, that you got what you got. So please don't feel intimidated. Don't think as if whether it's a woman you're working with or you're a woman working with a lot of men and you're not feeling intimidated that they will talk down on you. Come with humility. Be respectful. Know yourself. Be self-aware. Respect yourself and respect others, because respect begets respect. Do your job. Don't look at it because I'm a woman, so the men would think I should have a longer period to finish the job, or because I'm a man, I should do the job faster. No, don't come with all those biases and limiting beliefs. See people as humans and do what you have to do to make progress, to be happy with what you are doing. Because 2/3 of our waking hours as human beings, we spend them in the workplace. Why do you want to be in an environment where you are feeling demotivated, demoralized, and because it's another gender versus your gender, you feel as if you are not, you are not going to do well? No, you are a man working under women. Feel blessed. Respect begets respect. Be humble. Do your job. And you see things work for you. Don't look at it as if it's a bad thing because you are working with women, or it's a bad thing because you are working with more men. No. So that's why we're talking about gender equity, gender equality, inclusion, diversity, and all that. Let us be inclusive. Let us be, there's that equity in whatever we're doing. Don't feel left out. Don't feel inferior. Just see humans as humans. And I think that is where the first thing comes in. See humans as humans. The humanness is what is very important.
Thank you very much, Dr. May. This session has been extremely insightful and informative. I wish I could stay on the call with you for another 2 hours or even for the rest of the day. Thank you so much. So I'm just going to hand over to Mr. Yemi Ajagun to give the closing remarks. The remaining questions will be taken, we'll note the rest of the questions and take those on board. So thank you once again. I'll hand over to Mr. Yemi. Thank you very much, Dr. May.
Thank you.
Oh, was muted. Thank you so very much, Ajayi, for conducting this session so diligently well. I would like to also say a very big thank you on behalf of the Board of Governors of CFA Society Nigeria and the members. I'd like to say a big thank you to the celebrity shrink, Dr. May, Dr. Maimuna Kadri, for so passionately and powerfully delivering on this session. I've personally learned so much with regards to emotional intelligence and how to bridge the gap between the generations from Gen Xers, baby boomers, Gen Z, and millennials, and how to be more aware with regards to what goes on in the workplace. I would also like to say a very big thank you to the committee that has handled this session, that is Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. And like Dr. May mentioned during the session, for us at CFA Society Nigeria, diversity, equity, and inclusion is not just a box that we want to check. It's something, it's a phenomenon that we are walking the talk. We are making sure that we are shifting, we are having a paradigm shift from a narrow scope of having a gender diversity to a more inclusive mandate where we deliver on diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I would like to say a very big thank you to all the participants and everyone that has joined us. I also like to inform everyone that DEI Committee, CFA Society Nigeria, they have another very impactful session in a few weeks' time. I want to implore everyone to register for that session. And we can also continue with the conversation of what Dr. May has started on our website. We have a forum section on our website where you can register and continue this conversation thereon online. And on that note, I would like to thank everyone that has joined this session, and I wish everyone well today, and that anytime we are on for our other sessions, please join us. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you've made a decision to aim for a long-term and successful finance career, taking the Chartered Financial Analyst (CFA) exam and studying the curriculum is an excellent way to ensure you have a strong knowledge base and top-notch skills. Are you ready to take the bold step to invest in yourself? CFA Society Nigeria is at your disposal, promoting the highest standards of investment practice in Nigeria. As an affiliate of CFA Institute, CFA Society Nigeria seeks to promote the highest standards of investment practice in Nigeria and to provide a vibrant community in which its members and other key players in the investment industry can interact and grow. When you have the CFA charter, you're globally recognized. Take advantage today by writing the CFA exam and joining us at CFA Society Nigeria. For more information, visit us at cfasocietyng.org. CFA Society Nigeria, making finance a force for good.